One. Hello, Lifvantage. This is Darren Jensen coming to you live from Salt Lake City, Utah. It's good to be with you today and here on a continuation of our doctor series. Today we have Dr. Melody Rodarte with us. She's board certified in internal medicine and obesity medicine. She's certified in hyperbaric medicine and wound care and certified in medical aesthetics. She was also named one of the top 5 doctors in 2017 in the Phoenix area for obesity medicine. And she's married and a mother of 14-year-old twins. So we're glad to have her with us today. How are you doing, Dr. Rodarte? Good to have you on today.
Good. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to share this with everyone.
Well, good. Today we're going to be talking about ProBio, our Physique ProBio, and the importance of our microbiome. And I just wanted to say that what was it, a little over a week ago, you did a great presentation for us at our Elite Academy. And, you know, it just impressed upon me the importance of probiotics and of this microbiome that we have. And then, you know, before we started, I was mentioning to you the article that I was just reading in Fortune magazine, and it was about the microbiome and its importance in our body. And it talked about that it affects everything from our moods to our immune system to our weight. I mean, it seemed like it was almost all-encompassing. And, you know, the crazy thing is I don't hear many people talk about it, or many physicians. Never in 47 years when I've went into a doctor have they ever talked to me about the microbiome. And so I guess, you know, to get started, can you just explain to us about the microbiome in the body and the importance of probiotics?
I would love to. So thank you so much for having me on this call. I love educating people, and so getting the chance to talk about this is exciting. But the microbiome is becoming incredibly important, and more research is coming out where actually the NIA and the NIH are putting out papers and have a study regarding that microbiome because of the importance. I don't think we realized the importance until the past 10 years or so. And so our microbiome is made up of not only bacteria, but viruses and microorganisms, yeasts that help our body function, and they line our skin as well as our GI tract. And so specifically what the microbiome does is digest our food, absorb our nutrients, metabolize compounds, synthesize vitamins. You talked about the immune system. 60 to 70% of our immune system starts in the gut. So that's really important. Helps with insulin sensitivity. And then when you talked about your mood, it's so true. Neurotransmitters, people forget that those are in our gut. So dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, all of these. So there truly is that connection. And I think that in the next few years, when you go to the doctor, they'll probably be talking about it even more because of the research coming out and the importance, as well as they're going to have that 10-year study being released from the NIH on the human microbiome come next year.
So I remember you saying something during your presentation, and this is what was really fascinating to me. I thought you gave the weight of this microbiome, or the amount of bacteria, or maybe I read it in an article. I don't know, but was that you, or did I read it someplace else?
Probably both. It outnumbers it. There's like over 500 strains, and they outnumber our cells 10 to 1. So yeah, it's incredible that a majority of our body is made up of our microbiome, these microorganisms. It
seems like it was in pounds. I mean, it was so many pounds of bacteria and other things that are in our bodies, and that I didn't realize it was that prevalent.
Yeah, I think it's, and I don't have it data, but I think it was like 9 or 10 pounds can be that, but don't hold me to that because I would have to, that's one I didn't memorize.
But it seems like it was multiple pounds. Now, you mentioned something about this this study that was being conducted. I'm not as familiar with that. What's that study you referenced?
So the NIH is the National Institute on Health, and so they're actually doing a human microbiome study. So it started in 2008. So the first 10-year arm will be released next year, since it'll be 2018. And they're specifically looking at how it's all of those functions, you know, with what it's doing and how it's changing, like the importance of the bacterial DNA on our DNA. We didn't even realize that there was that interaction of bacterial DNA in our gut with our DNA. And so that is what the project is looking at, is how it's affecting our health and our function of our body.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, let's talk about at Lifvantage, our ProBio, our Physique ProBio. It has something in it called Wellmune. Could you explain to us what Wellmune is and why it's so important?
Yeah, so Wellmune is in the class of prebiotics, and so we need prebiotics for, like, essentially it's like food for the probiotics. It helps with our immune system, especially our white blood cells, the specific one called the neutrophil. And so in the ProBio that we specifically have Wellmune, which is a beta-1316 glucan, and it has 12 research studies on it, and it's patented. So I love that we have a proven prebiotic in our probiotic. And it primes our immune system, helping our immune system function. And by doing that, it can really reduce inflammation as well in our body and in our gut, where you really need to reduce inflammation, because that's really what's starting it. It's starting in our gut. So if we can start reducing inflammation there, it's going to bleed out into the rest of our body.
Okay. Now, can you tell us about the strains of bacteria that's in ProBio, and why the strains are so important?
Yeah. So I love Dr. Chevreau. She was so mindful in what she chose, and we have 6 specific strains that are very well studied and have lots of research on them. And so they are ones that most people have heard about. And so I'll go through each of them and kind of just a couple specific parts on them. I think it's important that we know why we chose them. So Lactobacillus acidophilus is the most researched one. And it has a vital role in our digestion and our absorption, as well as controlling yeast, producing antibiotic substances, and reducing allergens. The next one would be Lactobacillus plantarum, and it's our fierce gut protector. It's a very hardy strain, and it actually lines our entire gut. So it's really great for keeping the gut permeability great. And that's like one of the things I really talked about, our gut permeability. You don't want things that are in that lumen, which is the inside of the gut. You don't want it crossing that gut wall into the blood unless it's supposed to. And so when I say in maintaining gut permeability, that's what I mean. We need those probiotics to help our cells stay tight and not allow things to pass on through at their own will. The third strain is Lactobacillus casei, and that's also great for our gut permeability. It helps with decreasing overgrowth, especially of yeast. And it helps replenish the flora after antibiotics have been used. It's really important for decreasing autoimmunity. You want our cells in our body to distinguish between itself and pathogen. That's where we decrease the chances of autoimmune diseases. The fourth strain is Lactobacillus rhamnosus. And that also helps with decreasing the yeast colonizations, as well as decreasing food allergies and other allergens. And this is great as a tumor fighter property, so it helps protect our gut. Then there's 2 strains of Bifidobacterium, and Bifidio really loves the large intestine and the colon, and it helps with improving insulin sensitivity, so that's helpful for weight management. It helps with cholesterol metabolism, as well as it helps decrease endotoxemia. Endotoxemia happens when microorganisms, parasites, other things, toxins go right through the cell into it goes through an inflamed cell right through into the bloodstream, and it can make us toxic and make us sick. And so the two strains of Bifidobacterium really help reduce endotoxemia by keeping that gut permeability and the tight junctions really close together.
Now, and thank you for explaining those. You mentioned several times about gut permeability, and I am starting to read a lot and hear from doctors about leaky gut. What is leaky gut? Because now, as I read through health magazines, it seems like they tell you, well, you shouldn't eat, stay away from dairy, stay away from, a whole variety of things. And they say, because you've got leaky gut and you need to, what is it?
Leaky gut is secondary to inflammation that's happening. And so the cells, the intestinal cells are becoming they're not as close together. Let's say it like think of Velcro, keeping them together. And the Velcro parts are kind of falling apart. And when they don't allow, that tightness, it allows for things to get through. So the type of food, the type of diet we have can actually affect and inflame our gut. And if we're not having a diet good in, let's say, nutrition and probiotics, then we have more inflammation that's in the gut. The more inflammation we have, the less likely the barrier function is intact. So we're allowing then things to pass on through. They'll pass through the cell, and they'll pass between the cells into the bloodstream. And that's when people say, oh, leaky gut's making me have a foggy brain or letting me feel tired, and it's just because we're dealing with a lot of the inflammatory toxins making it into our bloodstream, and our body has to work harder at cleaning it up. And so some people actually have an intolerance to dairy, to wheat, and so if they have a diet high in those things, they're chronically having inflammation of that gut lining. And so we talk a lot about leaky gut syndrome now because of what's happening. Those toxins are going through, and then metabolism is not correctly happening. The synthesis of vitamins and nutrients that connection is being lost. And so we need a healthy microbiome in order for that to function correctly.
Well, I mentioned to you before that in all of my years going to doctors, they never did talk to me about my microbiome, but I was always given antibiotics, and believe me, I will be the first to take them. I mean, if I've got an infection, I am a big supporter. What effect does the overuse of antibiotics have on this microbiome, and what effect does that have on us?
So it really has a direct effect. So unfortunately, in the U.S., I think we are antibiotic crazy. I think it's changing nowadays, but I would be on my answering machine, I would say, if you've had a fever, you want an antibiotic, you have to come in and see me. I'm not going to call you one in after hours. We just overuse them. And when we overuse them, we see resistance, and we see gut problems because we're wiping out that natural flora, And so taking an antibiotic once in your life can change your microbiome for over 10 years, even longer. And so we have to be very cognizant of how often we use them. And I tell people, there is a time and place for antibiotics. Certainly there are major times that infections can kill you, but it shouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction to a fever. Our body should be able to, you want to give it time to see if you can build antibiotics and kill, the infection. But it does make a difference. When I worked as a hospitalist, as I did my training, we would see the effects of high-dose antibiotics, and it's not always a good thing. There's actually an overgrowth of a certain type of bacteria in the gut called Clostridium difficile. We all have it, But when we take too many antibiotics, it can overgrow and it can start to release a toxin. And the funny thing is you're going to start hearing about fecal transplants. And what they're trying to do is replenish the normal flora in there so that we can stop that infection instead of trying to give more antibiotics for that. But also think about what we've done to our food. We give antibiotics to our cows and our chickens, and it's in the fertilizer that we use. So unfortunately, we need to get away from using some of that because it is also affecting the way that our microbiome is. And so the type of food, not only taking antibiotics for when we're sick, can alter our microbiome. So we need a probiotic to help keep it healthy.
Well, and thanks, Dr. Rodarte. I'm reading along the side here of comments. Somebody had posted, I'd have to scroll back down to it. I mean, would our probiotic help with a leaky gut condition?
Yes, because what we're doing is we're giving, our probiotic has those specific strains that all help our gut permeability. So for sure, our probiotic can. And I want to go back to something else that you said. This will be good to go back and talk to your doctor about this. Sometimes those of us who have done a little bit of anti-aging medicine or preventative medicine, we are talking to our patients about probiotics, and I started doing that about 6 to 7 years ago with my patients. And I think this just happens to go in line with what I was doing. But it is important, and I think we, as physicians, need to be open to our patients educating us sometimes. So if you go back to him or her and say, hey, have you read about the microbiome? I mean, anybody watching this could do this. Think about the changes that would happen if you could, encourage your doctor to learn something new too.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned some of that because I had a doctor's appointment this morning, and just a follow-up. But after your talk, I was doing more research on the microbiome, and I had even talked to him because I've always struggled with weight loss in my life and things, and so I've been working on it. And I said, hey, I was reading a study on like these fecal transplants because apparently the bacteria in your gut has a major impact on weight loss, and he looked at me like with a blank stare, like, I've never heard of such a thing. I'm like, well, it's all over the internet. You can look, and I'm not recommending that to necessarily anybody, but I was just throwing out the idea or talking to him. And so, yeah, I think we should always be open with our physicians. Hey, a couple other things as I'm reading along the side are about, on the comments here, it's talking about swallowing it. And I know that when I first started, they're round. I mean, the probiotics are round, which is not a common shape. And so sometimes they're, because I normally put, my Nerf 2, my Nerf 1, my ProBio. I take a whole handful and I just throw it in all at once and I swallow it. And sometimes those little balls would get caught in it. So I even went back to Dr. Chevreau and said, hey, can we flatten these out or make it a little more swallowable? But we went over the BioTrack technology that's part of it and why it's built that way. Can you explain the BioTrack technology and then maybe if you have some ideas on swallowing it afterwards?
Oh, yeah, for sure. You're with my kids. My kids are like, can it be like a gummy? So I'll talk about swallowing it first. So you can actually kind of let it get all sticky with your saliva. That kind of can help it go down with a big gulp of water. Tucking your chin in can also help with the anatomy and then swallowing it. You can put a little bit of olive oil or coconut oil on it, and it seems to pass on by fast. And then our company was so mindful of making the sphere even smaller. So I think I'm not getting as many complaints about having trouble swallowing it now. But that BioTrack technology is what I'm the most excited for because, it is allowing up to 60 to 70% of our probiotic to make it through the stomach acid into the gut. And then it's slowly dissolving at each pH that's the beauty part. Each pH, it's slowly dissolving and laying down a different strain of probiotic, one of our 6 strains, where they need to go. So like those lactobacillus strains, they like to be in the small intestine, and the bifidobacterium strains, they like to be closer to the colon, the large intestine and colon. And so this BioTrek technology is in a sphere because tablets can have too much compression. Capsules can allow for air and water into it, and it wakes up, the bacteria too soon. Liquids you can't really protect the bacteria when it's in a liquid probiotic. As soon as it hits, the stomach acid, it's a free-for-all to see who can make it through the stomach into the small intestine. But our sphere is patented, and it allows for frozen probiotic to be in there. And it's really neat if you read about it. They did it in like 2 spheres, half spheres, so you're not getting too much compression killing them. And then they, put it together at the last step. And so it allows for this wonderful technology, this delivery system that is continuous throughout our gut. So it is a brilliant design, because the majority, whether it's a tablet, a capsule, or a liquid, only 5 to 10%, really most studies say 4 to 6% make it through the stomach. So the fact that our technology shows that 60 to 70% make it through is incredible. You can deal with trying to figure out how to swallow a sphere instead of a different shape when you know that.
Yeah, so let's say that I were to, if somebody were to chew it up or to blend it up, that really negates this BioTrek technology. It really makes it so it disperses, which then most of it would be destroyed, right? Or digested.
Right, because then you're allowing that pH of 1 in the stomach it's fully activated. So you're losing that protection that's helping it get through the stomach into the duodenum, the small intestine, where it wants to start to open up. So you really destroy it by blending it or crushing it. You can do that with our other products. It's an herb. It's not a live bacteria. So there's a difference there.
Okay, I was just reading some of the other comments here. One that we get quite often is, all right, when do I take this? Do I take it with food? Do I take it without food? Do I take it in the morning, at night? Okay, from an expert, from a doctor that is a weight loss specialist, when should we take this for optimal benefit?
If you can take it on an empty stomach, that's optimal. You can choose if you want it in the morning or in the evening. Most people will take it in the morning on an empty stomach, but I fully agree with Dr. Chevreau, get it in you. So if it means you're taking it with your food and you're taking it with your other pills, take it, because it's still going to work. And it's so important. And people might have some other issues with their digestion, and so they can even break it up. I've had a few people feel really good when they take one sphere, 2 or 1 sphere 3 times a day instead of, kind of on an empty stomach a half an hour before they eat, because they have what's called like gastroparesis, so their movement is slower, and so they digest things a little bit slower. So I tell people, try it a few different ways if you're feeling like you're not getting the ultimate benefits of a good, healthy gut by taking all 3 of the spheres together. But get it in you. That's the bottom line. It's going to dissolve when it needs to dissolve, and you're going to get the benefits of having a really good probiotic on board.
So just to recap, preferably on an empty stomach, and it doesn't matter morning or night. The key part is take it, whether it's just take it. That's the key part. But ideally on an, right? Yeah. Okay, good. What about storage? How should I store that in my house? I mean, sometimes you'll see at a store, at specialty areas, probiotics that are refrigerated. Do I need to refrigerate this?
No, that's the beauty. We don't have to refrigerate this. And that's such a problem with other, even prescription probiotics is, remembering to put it in the refrigerator. But with ours, it doesn't need refrigerating. You can just keep it at room temperature. That's the beauty of this, is you can take it with you and take it when you need to take it and not worry about having a refrigerator at work to store it in or anywhere else. And, the problem with refrigerated ones is, what happens to them during transit from the manufacturer to the supplier to the shelf. So you can lose a lot of the viability with those. So I love that ours is such a stable product that you can stand behind it and know that you're getting efficacy from the product that you're ingesting.
Yeah, having worked in logistics and in business, imagining trying to keep something refrigerated all the way through the steps of the process. I know that we do that with other food, dairy products and frozen foods, but so much of our stuff is shipped via FedEx, via UPS, via the mail. What if it were to be delivered by your house and it's sitting in a hot FedEx truck, and then it sits on your porch out in the sun for another 8 hours before you get home and can bring it in? That's why I think having this to where it doesn't have to be refrigerated is so powerful, is very convenient. One final question. Now, we've come out with our Activated Essentials bundles. Why do you think well, basically, we've taken Nerf 1, Nerf 2, and then Activated Essentials and put them into a bundle. Why, in your opinion, was it so necessary to have a ProBio as part of this fundamental group of products that we wanted people to use every day?
I love that we have the Activated Essentials because we are going to be helping the body from so many different angles. So we have that, that Nerf 2 activation, which is just that master regulator of the cell. And then you have, upregulating and downregulating genes and detoxifying. And I mean, the list goes on. You've got Dr. Mark Gordon, who talked about Nerf 2, and Dr. Vittergram, and Nerf 1 with our mitochondrial health and just helping our energy and our mitochondria and repair. And then you add on the probiotics. So now you're helping your gut function correctly, and that hits so many different, areas we were talking about. So metabolism, absorption, synthesis of vitamins, helping our immune system. And so you're going to allow Nerf 1, Nerf 2 to act even better because our gut is working better, because there's actually a new subspecialty with pharmacomicrobiomics, and it's going to be looking at the type of probiotics that are in your gut, or the microbiome, and how things are metabolized, specifically drugs. And so we're just fully helping our gut function more and helping absorb the protein of Nerf 1, Nerf 2 by having, a probiotic on board. So it's I think it was you who said 1, 2, 3 punch. So, we're hitting every angle by having this Activated Essential as a bundle. Because I think then people know the importance by going, okay, they have this as a bundle. Maybe I should just go on that instead of figuring out which to start and when to add something else on board.
Well, Dr. Rodarte, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have such competent medical professionals on to talk to us specifically about products. Sometimes in our larger meetings, we just don't have the time to focus and to really get questions on. So thank you. It's been very helpful on ProBio. And
thank you.
All right, we'll see you later. Thank you.
Thanks.